If you stand on London Bridge and walk north, you can cross into one of the strangest political spaces in the modern world without noticing it. No passport, no border guard, no sign saying you have entered somewhere older than Parliament, older than the United Kingdom, older than the Bank of England, older than the empire that once ruled half the globe. But you have. You have entered the city of London, not London the capital, not Greater London with its mayor, buses, boroughs and millions of residents. The City of London is the square mile, a tiny district at the heart of the capital, with its own government, its own police force, its own Lord Mayor, its own ancient ceremonies, its own business vote, its own guilds, its own private endowment funds, and a political memory that reaches back almost 1,000 years. Only a small number of people live there, but hundreds of thousands work there. Money moves through it. Law firms, insurers, banks, asset managers, exchanges and global corporations orbit around it. The city is small enough to cross on foot, but large enough to shape decisions far beyond Britain. And that is the mystery. How did 1 square mile inside London survive with privileges that kings, parliaments, reformers and modern mayors never completely erased? How did a medieval trading town become the symbol of global finance? And why does this tiny city inside a city still matter? To understand why the City of London still exists like this, you have to go back the Sankofa way. Before London was Britain, before Britain was Britain, before the Norman conquest remade England, there was already a city on the Thames. Roman Londinium had been built around a river crossing, a port and a wall. Even after Roman authority faded, the logic of the place survived. Ships came in, goods moved, people gathered. Power followed trade. By the time William the Conqueror won England in 1066, London was not just another town waiting to be conquered. It was rich, organized, and difficult to ignore. William could take castles, he could defeat armies, but London was different. The city had citizens, customs, laws, and leverage. So in 1067, soon after the conquest, William issued a small charter to London. It was not a grand document by modern standards. It was tiny, written on vellum, and kept by the city for centuries. But its meaning was enormous. William confirmed that Londoners could continue to enjoy the rights and laws they had held before the conquest. That is where the story begins, with the conqueror deciding that this city was too useful to simply crush. From that point onward, the relationship between London and the crown became a bargain. The king needed money, the city had money. The king needed loans, trade, ships, taxes, and order. The city wanted liberties, self-government, and protection from interference. Over centuries, kings gave charters, demanded support, borrowed money, and confirmed privileges. The city did not become independent from England, but it became unusually self-governing inside it. This is the first secret of the square mile. It survived because it was useful. In medieval England, towns could win rights from kings. They could control markets, elect officials, hold courts, and regulate trade. But London was the greatest prize of all. It was the kingdom's commercial engine. Inside the city, government grew from ancient institutions with names that sound almost unreal today. Aldermen, wardmotes, sheriffs, liverymen, the Court of Housting, the Court of Aldermen, the Court of Common Council. The city was divided into wards. Each ward had an alderman. Citizens gathered in ward meetings. Merchants and craftspeople organized into guilds. These guilds became livery companies, bodies that regulated trades, trained apprentices, protected members, and helped run civic life. The Weavers' Company traces a charter to 1155. Many other guilds emerged in the centuries that followed. Goldsmiths, mercers, drapers, fishmongers, skinners, merchant tailors, haberdashers, salters, ironmongers, vintners, clothworkers. Their names sound ceremonial now, but they were once the operating system of a trading city. They controlled quality, they controlled entry into trades, they defended their members, they shaped politics. And in a world where trade, law, and power were tangled together, the guilds helped make the city more than a place. They made it a corporation of interests. Then came King John. In 1215, facing rebellion, pressure, and a kingdom slipping from his control, John needed London. Just before Magna Carta, he confirmed the right of Londoners to choose their own mayor annually. Magna Carta then named the City of London directly, protecting its ancient liberties by land and by water. That phrase matters because it turned older privilege into constitutional memory. In later centuries, people would argue about what Magna Carta meant, who it protected, and how much of it still mattered. But the city had something written into the story of English liberty itself. The City of London was not merely surviving by habit. It had paperwork, it had history, it had bargaining power. And whenever reform came, the city could point backward. That is the second secret of the square mile. Old rights become hard to remove when they are wrapped in national myth. But the city did not survive on parchment alone. It survived because money kept flowing through it. Medieval London was not Westminster. Westminster was royal, religious, administrative. The city was commercial. It was where merchants made deals, guilds settled disputes, ships unloaded goods, and credit moved. Over time, London grew far beyond the medieval walls. Villages became streets, fields became suburbs. Westminster and London blurred into one enormous capital, but the city kept its identity. The wall no longer defined daily life, but the square mile remained a separate local authority. It kept its ceremonies, its wards, its livery companies, its Lord Mayor, and its sense that it was the old city at the heart of the new metropolis. Then, modern finance changed everything. The Bank of England was founded in 1694. Lloyd's of London grew from coffee house insurance culture. The Royal Exchange, stock trading, merchant banking, shipping finance, colonial commerce, global insurance, and later modern banking all clustered in and around the city. The city became the financial brain of the British Empire. This is where the story becomes uncomfortable, because the wealth that moved through the city was not innocent. Imperial trade, slavery-linked finance, colonial extraction, shipping, insurance, and debt all passed through London's financial system in different ways. The city did not single-handedly create empire, but it helped finance, insure, profit from, and organize parts of it. When the British Empire expanded, the city expanded with it. When Britain industrialized, the city financed it. When railways, mines, ports, and plantations needed capital, London helped raise it. When the empire receded, the city did not disappear. It adapted. After the Second World War, Britain was no longer the empire it had been, but London remained a place where money could move. In the second half of the 20th century, the city became central to Eurodollar markets, offshore finance, deregulation, and global financial services. The square mile had lost the empire, but it kept the networks. Then came the Big Bang of 1986, the financial deregulation that transformed London's markets. Old clubby trading practices gave way to electronic screens, foreign banks, global capital, and a new financial culture. The city became less British in one sense and more powerful in another. It became a global platform. Today, the official numbers are startling. The City of London has only a small residential population. City Corporation figures in recent years put residents in the thousands, while the number of workers is in the hundreds of thousands. A 2026 City Statistics briefing listed 676,000 workers in the city. The city says it accounts for about 1 in 5 financial services jobs in Great Britain and generates over £100 billion in economic output annually. So the square mile is not powerful because many people live there. It is powerful because many decisions pass through it. That creates the strangest part of its democracy. The city has residents who vote, but it also has a business vote. Organizations based in the city can appoint voters for ward elections because the daytime working population massively outnumbers the resident population. The official argument is simple. If the city is overwhelmingly a workplace, then businesses and workers should have a say in how it is run. To critics, this looks like a medieval privilege updated for corporate power. To defenders, it is practical democracy for an unusual place. But either way, it is not normal. Most local governments are built around residents. The city is built around residents, workers, businesses, history, and finance all occupying the same tiny map. That is why the City of London can feel like a fossil that learned to use a Bloomberg terminal. Its ceremonies are ancient, its economy is modern, its language is medieval, its influence is global. The Lord Mayor is a perfect example. The Lord Mayor of London is not the same person as the Mayor of London. The Mayor of London runs Greater London government and is elected by Londoners. The Lord Mayor heads the City of London Corporation and serves a one-year term, acting as an ambassador for the UK's financial and professional services sector. Every November, the Lord Mayor's show turns the city into a pageant of coaches, uniforms, livery companies, music, soldiers, horses, and civic theatre. It looks like a relic. But behind the theatre is a very modern job, opening doors for finance, law, insurance, technology, and professional services. This is how the city works. It turns ceremony into access. It turns history into legitimacy. It turns local government into global networking. Then there is the Remembrancer. The name alone sounds like it belongs in a fantasy novel. In reality, the Remembrancer's office is part of the City Corporation. Its job includes engagement with Parliament, examining proposed legislation, briefing on bills, liaising with committees, and submitting evidence. Conspiracy theories often exaggerate this role, imagining a hidden official controlling Parliament from the shadows. That is not the accurate story. The real story is more interesting. The city has an office whose job is to remember the city's interests when laws are being made, not secret rule. Institutional memory. And institutional memory is power. The city also manages funds that make it more than an ordinary council. There is the City Fund, used for local authority, police authority, and port health functions. There is City's Estate, an endowment built over centuries from property and investments. And there is City Bridge Foundation, whose origins go back around 900 years to maintaining London Bridge. Today, under the trusteeship of the City Corporation, it maintains 5 Thames bridges and is described by the city as London's largest independent funder. Again, the pattern repeats. A medieval need becomes a modern institution. A bridge fund becomes a charitable powerhouse. A guild becomes a livery company. A trading town becomes a financial district. A local mayor becomes a global ambassador. A square mile becomes a symbol of money itself. So is the City of London a democracy, a corporation, a relic, or a machine? The answer is yes. It is a local authority. It is an ancient corporation. It is a ceremonial world. It is a financial lobby. It is a place where real residents live, go to school, use libraries, complain about planning, and vote. It is also a place where the number of workers overwhelms the number of residents, where business representation is built into elections, and where the past is not decoration. It is infrastructure. That is why the city survived. Not because it was above the state, because it was woven into the state. Kings needed it, Parliament tolerated it, finance amplified it, reformers trimmed it, the empire used it. Globalization revived it, and ordinary London grew around it until the old city became a city inside a city. Look at the map and the city seems tiny. Look at the institutions and it seems ancient. Look at the money and it seems enormous. That contradiction is the whole story. The City of London is not the secret country inside Britain. It is stranger than that. It is a surviving medieval corporation at the center of a modern financial capital. It reminds us that power does not always arrive with a flag. Sometimes it arrives with a charter, sometimes with a guild hall, sometimes with a police badge, a committee paper, a bank, a livery collar, a bridge trust, a legal office, and a lunch in a room where everyone already knows everyone. And sometimes the most powerful places are not the biggest ones. They are the places that learned how to survive every century by becoming useful to the next. This was the story of the City of London, told the Sankofa way. Go back and get it. If it moved you, tell us in the comments whose story we should tell next. Until then, stay upright.